All right, so good afternoon, everybody. We are in session 4 of our application week, coordinated by Iowa College Aid. All week, we have various application and admission sessions taking place around various pathways. So Friday and Saturday, we are actually hosting an application fair. So if you're interested in applying anywhere, I'd say to look at our schedule and try to touch base with where you're interested in applying. And then you can spend time with them working on your application. Otherwise, be sure to check out our webpage for any other information to do with our application week. You can register for sessions and figure out what works for you and what you want to view through that webpage. Today for this session, I'm really excited. We have students on the line to talk about being an apprentice. So we are going to learn the student perspective of being an apprentice. And then we also have some staff that work around apprenticeships as well within their school system. So we will hear from them too. This is a whole new area for myself. So I look forward to learning a lot from all of you. I think our schools will as well, along with students. If there's any questions throughout the session, feel free to type them in the Q&A box or in the chat box, and we will get those answered by the end. And if we don't have a chance to get them answered, just feel free to send them my direction and I can push those out to whoever would be appropriate to answer that and get that answer to you. We will end by 3:55. We have another session starting at 4. So that will give us a quick 5 minutes to switch over. And we'll look forward to getting on with this one. All sessions are recorded too. So if you need to leave or want to access this at a later time, it will be available. All right, panelists, I'm gonna quit sharing my screen here and start with our questions. Actually, if I could get each of you to introduce yourself first, that would be the great way to start. So let's start with Landon, the first one I see. If you could introduce yourself quickly.
Hi, I'm Landon Toom. I am part of the apprenticeship at Pella High School. I am working at Vermeer.
Awesome. All right, how about Evan?
My name is Evan Watson. I'm a senior at West Delaware, and I'm the PALD and apprentice in Delhi.
Very cool. And Levi.
I'm Levi Mullis. I'm the welding apprentice at Henderson Products, and I graduated from West Delaware High School.
Awesome. And then Seth, can I have you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, my name's Seth Harms. I'm the welding instructor at West Delaware High School.
Okay. And Terry.
Hi, Terry Voss, and I work in the Pella region on a collaborative effort to bring apprentices into the workplace and was involved with launching an apprenticeship playbook with the Governor's STEM Advisory Council. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you all for being here this afternoon. It's only Monday. I was going to say it's already Tuesday, but no, I'm on the wrong day. All right, we are going to start with our students first with some of our questions. So I will probably just randomly call on students and then ask you the questions in order here. So why did you choose to enroll in the apprenticeship program that you're part of? And Levi, let's start with you.
I basically chose to enroll in the apprenticeship program because I started taking welding classes with Harms for about a year, and I wanted to, further, get into welding and learn more about it as far as industrial side of things. And it just kind of started like that. I just, got into it, and I really wanted to, go for it, make a career out of it.
And it sounds like you've already started doing that too.
Yep, that's correct.
Awesome. So did you start right after you graduated working full time?
I actually, the summer before I graduated from the apprenticeship, I was working full time, 40 hours. Sometimes it'd be 50 hours. I'd be working, and then as soon as I went back to school, I was down to about 20, 25 hours. And then I started, 50 hours and full-time afterwards.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, Evan, I'm going to pass this question over to you.
I enrolled in the apprenticeship because I really wanted to go to the next level for welding. Being in Mr. Harms's class taught you a lot, but it didn't teach you the actual workforce side. And then as long with being an apprentice, it was an after-school job and then a full-time summer job, which is pretty hard to come by in high school. And then you'll also get a welding certificate out of it and save your time after high school instead of going to college.
So you're currently in your apprenticeship, right?
Right.
Okay, awesome. All right, Landon, you're next.
I enrolled in the apprenticeship mostly because my parents kind of pushed me to. I initially looked at it and didn't see it as much, but my parents kept on trying to urge me to do it, and eventually I went down to the principal's office one day, and he said, "So your parents have been talking a lot about wanting you to join the apprenticeship." And here I am, loving it.
So it was a good decision.
I did not initially like the idea, and I wanted to wait another year, but I went in and did it, and it was definitely worthwhile.
Awesome. Okay, our next question is, how have your mentors at the work site benefited you? And Evan, I'm going to start with you on this question.
Most of the people that I work with, they've just been there to help me all the way, whether it was welding or anything within school. Like if I needed some time off to do some assignments after school, people there were more than happy to let me have time off because they understand that school comes first. And there's also great people there that I've met whenever I was on full-time on first shift. And I still talk to those people to this day, and I know that those people could help me out if I ever needed them.
So you've gotten like a good support network out of your experience too. That's pretty awesome. All right, Levi, I'm going to pass it over to you.
I'd say how my mentors have helped me is, I think more of my mentors is like everybody I work with, because if you go in, different areas, you meet different people and they, help you with tips and tricks to get better. And, for anything that you do, whether it be, welding in general or troubleshooting or, blueprints, whatever, they're there to help you, and we all work as a team.
Yeah, I feel like this is a great way to learn about teams and teamwork because you get that real life experience and you have to do your projects together and you can't do it without one another. So excellent point there. All right, Landon, you're next.
For me, my mentors are really anybody around where I'm working right now because, depending on what we have available to do, I'll work with just about anybody, but it's benefited me a lot because I've seen lots of what you can and cannot do around here from hearing from other people. And I've also gotten a lot of benefit out of my main mentor, who has been actually bringing me out to all these different places around here to work, so I can see a whole bunch of different sides of engineering.
That's actually really valuable because then you get a good idea of what it all involves and entails. So that's pretty incredible for you to be able to do that. And then I'm actually going to stay on you for the next question too, so you can start us off.
Okay.
Let's see. What value do you believe you bring to your company?
I believe that I'm bringing in a value of showing that kids who are high school age or college age, even if they don't have a degree yet, that they are still able to work in these sorts of environments and still do a really good job, because I still only recently got my high school diploma, and I feel like I've shown that I can still do just about anything that anybody else can do.
For sure. Evan, I'm going to pass this one over to you.
I at the company, even though I only work 20 to 25 hours a week, I still feel like I'm a normal employee there. Even though I'm so much younger and I don't have a college degree like the other two do, they don't treat me any differently there, and they still believe that I can do as much as they can do.
Apologies, I think I froze here. Excellent points though, Evan. That makes perfect sense too. Levi, I'm going to pass this one over to you.
I think what I bring to my company, I'd say, is my youth, since I'm younger and can, pick things up, and I can, go faster and get parts done quicker, that I should be, I'm more efficient and more beneficial to the company.
So do you get a lot of jobs put your way because you can do them quicker?
Quite a bit, I'd say, more than some people do.
Nice. Okay, our next question is, what advice would you give to a company considering taking on an apprentice? Let's see. Let's start with Evan.
If a company's on the verge of taking an apprentice or not taking an apprentice, I would say that it's a really great opportunity to get some younger guys in there. You're not going to be paying them as much as you would for a full-time guy, but they're still going to be there doing as much work as the full-time guys are, if not busting a little bit faster than everybody else, because they're there trying to show themselves as trying to be something that's worthwhile. So I'd say it's a really good idea.
Yeah, excellent points. And I think we're all looking at our high school classes and even young 20s for filling in some jobs too. So having a young workforce is a pretty nice thing. And Levi, I'm going to pass this over to you.
The advice I give is definitely just, you go for it, try it out. And I would recommend that as far as like the mentor side of things, that you have a mentor that can, really connect really well with younger people and is, just not the typical welder, type of guy, but like he's, a welder. He's also a teacher, he can teach you and you can, learn a lot from him.
That's nice to help you connect to, I'm assuming the rest of staff as well, because once you have like an in with one, I'm sure it makes it a lot easier to kind of blend in with the rest too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Landon, you're up.
I think that if they have the choice of whether or not they're going to do an apprenticeship, that they should definitely take the chance there and do it, because worst case scenario that I saw out of all this is they get an extra worker who, even if isn't quite as efficient, gets just the same amount of work done and is getting a learning experience out of it. So it's benefiting just about everybody in this. I'd say that there's no reason not to do it.
Right. I would agree, because I think what you're learning is just like invaluable to what you're going to end up doing with your life, whether it's staying in your line of work or changing it up later in life too. What you learn here is going to be with you forever.
Yep.
See, I think that might be the last question I had sent to you guys, but I'm going to toss some surprise ones on you from what I've kind of talked through with you. So what are the top 3 things you've learned from your apprenticeship so far? And because it's a pop quiz type of question, I'll just let whoever wants to jump in can start.
Can you please say that again?
Yeah. What are the top 3 things that you've learned since starting your apprenticeship, or skills?
The first thing I've learned that's really impacted me a lot is it really shows me what it's like to be out there in the real world, and that there's really good people out there that are going to help you along the way, no matter what, no matter how many times you screw up or have to ask them for help because you don't know what you're doing. Another thing is that it really shows you what a good hard day of work looks like, because I feel like that's kind of lost these days, because whenever you're out there putting in a 50-hour week and the shop temp's 100 degrees, it really shows you what life's all about. And for the third thing, I would have to say it would be the accountability that it takes to work in a big company like this, because you always got to be there. And if you're not, it's always the one day that you're not there that everybody's going to look at you at. So it really shows you that you got to be in there, really busting out parts faster than everybody else. And then it's not only make yourself look better, but it makes you look more like an asset. And especially in times like this with the coronavirus, they really need good assets that are going to be there and universal to the company.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I think we see that a lot right now with things like huge layoffs for companies, and people just kind of really highly competing for their position, as you know, organizations restructure and everything else. So that's an excellent point. I also like how you brought up asking questions. I always tell everybody I know there's no such thing as a silly question, and eventually you're going to have to ask help for help, no matter where you go or what you do. So the more you get to practice that, I think that's pretty awesome. And it's really nice that you can do that in a really well-supported network too. All right, Landon or Levi, do either one of you want to jump in and answer?
I'll jump right on in. I'm going to add on with the asking questions part. That's probably the biggest thing I've learned, is that no matter who you ask, usually they're not too upset about you asking the question, that they'd rather you ask that question than sit around stupid the whole time and not know what you're doing. So asking questions, good thing. Let's see. Second thing, engineers are always the one that you yell at and blame. There's always something wrong, and usually people will blame it up the chain until it gets to engineers. So do it right, and do it right the first time. Let's see, and I had one more. I learned responsibility. This is the first year that I've ever actually had to get out of bed on time, because it's gone from me being in school where there are no consequences for sleeping in a little bit to I have to be up at 4 o'clock every morning to get into work on time. So learning responsibility.
Is the consequence being if you don't make it on time, it's out of your pay?
If you don't make it on time, it's out of your pay, and there are more consequences than it's worth.
Yep, that is way beyond true. All right, Levi?
I'd say for me anyway, probably learn a lot more about people skills and how to talk and connect with people. And I'd also say, you know, like Landon and Evan were saying, you know, how you're like an asset to the company, you know, with, you know, bringing your, you know, like your youth and everything into the company and learning, you know, everything there is to know, and that there's also, you know, room for advancements down the road. And some days you don't know if they're going to move you or where they're going to put you. So it, you know, you get familiar with different areas and you're more valuable, like they said, to the company. And I'd say probably the third thing that I think, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah. What are the top 3 things you've learned, or maybe skills that you've gained too, since you've started at your apprenticeship?
Probably also, you know, like they said about asking questions, because, you know, you seem to do that a lot, you know, and the guys as well, you know, they understand, you know, that you're young, you know, you don't know what you're doing exactly at all times. And, you know, like Landon said, don't hesitate, you know, to ask. You got to be able to ask questions in order to figure things out sometimes.
Agreed. And I think as much as it can make you uncomfortable, you're only going to learn from the questions that you ask. So once you get it figured out, you're definitely on to bigger and better things once you have your answers. I have the perfect example of that, but I'm not an apprentice, so. But I organized this week-long event and I have lots of questions coming my way and people are apologizing all the time about asking questions. I'm like, please don't apologize. I would rather you ask than not know. Otherwise, it won't be a success, which I think could be applicable to likely any type of situation. All right, students, if there's anything else you could think of, I'll circle back around, but I'm going to switch it over to Terry and Seth now to answer some questions around staffing, around apprenticeships. So actually, if you two could both explain your positions, I think that'd be really helpful for any of our school staff that hears this session, just to know like how you work with an apprenticeship, how your role kind of fits in with that piece. So if either one of you want to start, go for it.
I can go ahead and start. I'm the welding instructor, and we started our apprenticeship about 2 years ago now, I believe. We were behind Pella. I really wanted to be number one, but we didn't make it there. That's okay. But my job is to oversee, obviously the classroom component of the teaching, as well as the making sure that my students are fit with the right mentors, the companies, answering a lot of questions with the companies. It's been such a great experience for me because I've faced challenges that I never thought I would face as an instructor, and it's teaching me a lot. Every day I'm learning something new. So I think that's the part to me that I really enjoy about this program.
Very cool.
I can follow up on Seth's comments there. So in Pella, I worked in manufacturing for many years. And as a lot of people knew, for many years, we were having a lot of trouble finding employment and getting a workforce into our doors. And so the discussion for me started on the business level and reaching out to our local high schools and the Career Academy to find out what are some new solutions that we could approach. And apprenticeship was the perfect solution for us to explore and connecting with young people early on. And so from there, I've really taken on a role now where I work with students from very early age, in elementary school actually, to help give them some visibility to what career options are even out there, because so often kids know if they want to be a teacher or a firefighter or like a handful of things, but beyond that, they don't even know what's available to them. So helping them to see early on what the options are, but then giving them a step along their whole career journey so that if something sparks their interest, there's always the next thing that they can pursue. And so an apprenticeship is one of those options, and just helping young people know too that there's not just one pathway. You don't have to go directly into workforce or in a 4-year college degree pathway. There's a lot of in between, so letting them know what those things are. So my role is to work with students, work with employers, schools, the whole collaboration, and helping them to understand how to find these pathways, and then once they find them, how to go through the paperwork and all the steps that they need to have a successful and fun career.
Awesome. You both sound really busy to me. Lots of like coordination aspects to your positions. And I should have added this. So I would be one that argues, apprenticeship is a post-secondary pathway for students to take because you are still learning and training at the same time. So to me, like I consider that college, and our state agency considers that college. I know there's like the traditional aspect and view of what college is and that it has to be this 4-year thing, but really there's all types of different pathways out there. So thank you for bringing that up too. I appreciate that. And for you both, what are the steps that go into hiring an apprentice? So Terry, if you'd actually want to start, or whoever can answer that best, I guess. Both.
Yeah, I can give a short answer because Seth probably knows a lot about the real technical skills. For me, it's looking out for those young people's skills and just what they're good at and what they enjoy early on. And then when they get to the point of that high school level, helping to guide them towards some of the courses that will set them up for an apprenticeship, if that's what they're interested in doing. So taking the right welding courses or taking the right communication classes so that they really can be a valuable employee. And then when they're really ready to begin an apprenticeship, my steps in the process are helping them set up interviews so that they can actually go into the employers and have a successful interview. And then once they go through that process, really in the end, it's signing their names on that dotted line that with the Department of Labor that says that they're willing to pursue that commitment and will do everything that it takes to follow through. And the Department of Labor has been really supportive too in making sure that it's as easy as possible to get those young people to see the pathway and then fulfill it all the way to the end with whatever comes with it, the coursework, the learning, the college degree. Yeah, everybody wants these young people to be successful.
Agreed. All right, Seth.
Yeah, so we're much the same in that we start more at the high school level. That's where the welding classes start, and that's kind of where I start seeing the students as freshmen. From there, when I try to spark interest by talking about the opportunities that they can have through the program. I use all of my apprentices, quite regularly in discussion with the students to try to get them excited about it. When they become juniors, they have the opportunity to apply for the program. We are actually going through an application process right now. I've got mock interviews tonight at 6 o'clock because I have class at 4 to 6 for another company. So we have a mock interview where the students, after they fill out their applications, they go through a mock interview process with us. And we try to prepare them for the interview with the companies, and the companies interviews them, and then they choose however many that they want to take for that session. We try to do 2 sessions, one in the fall, one in the spring. And yeah, so that's kind of how we go with that. So
Yeah, that sounds like a really formalized process that you have too, with like kind of how those different steps work. Okay, so how do you make sure apprentices are looked after and safe in the workplace?
I would just follow up with the earlier conversation you had with each of the young men on the call today when you asked them about mentors. Really that mentor or that person who's already at the workplace that can guide those young people, those roles are really important. So the businesses that we work with, we really press upon them the idea that you need to find the right person for the job. A lot of times, a younger person might connect really well with an apprentice, or someone that just has a passion for learning or training. But that mentor is really that go-to person. Doesn't always have to be the exact same person, but a mentor can be that individual who these apprentices can refer to at any time. Like you said earlier, there aren't any dumb questions or silly questions, but making sure that relationship is built up over time so that these mentors and the apprenticeships feel really comfortable with each other. And that's something that I found parents really want to know too. They want to know that their young sons and daughters are really going to be brought into this workforce or into this environment in a really safe and in a manner that they can really learn a lot. And what we've seen is that definitely happens because the businesses are so good at picking out the right people.
And I'd piggyback on that a little bit, Terry. So I agree with you with the young mentors. Actually, Levi, while an apprentice, moved to another position and was also looked at as a mentor for a little bit for one of the new apprentices coming in. He was very skilled at the job that he was doing in the small parts. So he was actually running as a apprentice / mentor for a little bit because he did so well at explaining the process to them. And one other thing I really try to do is I stay in close contact with the companies that I work with, talking probably at least once a week, if not more. And, after talking with the students, if there is a situation with a mentor where they may not be as strong as we had hoped, we try to come to a conclusion to figure out what we need to do and move forward. So, but I agree. The mentor is the that is the sharpening. I mean, that's what makes this program really strong, is having a good quality mentor that's able to explain and be patient, because patience is important.
Have either of you found with the companies that you might be working with, if it becomes kind of their culture to bring in apprenticeships and like an expectation of this is what our company is going to do and how their employees can participate? Or do you say that you're kind of like handpicking some mentors at some specific places?
To be honest with you, for the mentor process so far, it's been, in my case anyways, all company controlled. They're the ones who've chosen the mentor. I'm not 100% sure on what they look for a mentor. I know if they have success with one, they try to use that one again. But if they want to make sure they're working with somebody who can work with students, that's, I think, the most important thing.
Right. Okay, our next question here. What classroom components are needed to complete the apprenticeship?
I can answer just very briefly that it depends a lot on the apprenticeship pathway. So a welding apprenticeship would have a different set of courses than like Landon as an engineering assistant apprenticeship. Now he might learn and have visibility to some welding within that apprenticeship, but he really does have specific courses and competencies that he's meeting specific to his pathway. And that's the case for all of our apprenticeships. We have others in other areas too. And so rather than trying to list out all those courses for all the different pathways, I would just say that that's something that you want to talk to, whether it be the high school teacher like Seth is, or the counselor, or talk to the right people early on, and they can help direct you in the right way to set you up appropriately for a given apprenticeship.
Yeah, I think that's very important, is and one thing for any companies or industries that are going to be watching this is a great opportunity for you to help the school set up standards and competencies that you'd like to see students hitting. One of the things that we did with with my curriculum, my classes that they need to take are concurrent enrollment through Northeast Iowa Community College. And that gave us a little bit of flexibility on some of those classes to really hit company specific training that will help not only the apprentices, but the other 15 students that come through my class each semester. So it works out really well for them.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And then you those go hand in hand, I feel like. So that's great that you're able to integrate those. All right, our next question for you two is, what is the benefit of an apprenticeship program as opposed to going directly into the workforce?
There are a couple of things that I see the students really appreciating. A lot of them are getting that classroom and that education piece of it that you mentioned earlier, Jamie, that they can put that on their resume. That's something that they can take anywhere, and a lot of employers will recognize what it is they've achieved with their apprenticeship. But I would say that one of the biggest advantages of the apprenticeship is the fact that it gives students the opportunity to explore. So they're looking at a lot of different aspects of a given field. Like I think somebody mentioned earlier that even within welding or even with engineering, there's a lot of different specializations in those fields. And so apprenticeships often will give you a chance to look at all those different types of welding or engineering or whatever it may be. And then it gives the opportunity for the young person or the apprentice to really find out what he or she's good at, or what he or she really likes doing. And it doesn't have to be as much as I've committed to one thing as an exploration process. And that's what's been so good for the apprentices that I've seen in the program.
And I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I think one of the big things too is the support that they have from the instructor or the coordinator. If you go to the workforce right out of high school, you've got the support from the companies, but you stub your toes too many times and you're probably going to find the door. And in this case, you've got somebody to talk to and say, you know, the companies are staying in contact with me as well, so I know what's going on. And then I can pull these students aside and we can have meetings and we can talk about situations that might have potentially gotten them in trouble, or, you know, even worse, if they had not been a part of the apprenticeship program.
Yeah, and from what I'm gathering too is like it's a really good development opportunity for students. So you're really getting the support provided with part of that work experience versus say graduating and getting hired on and then learning the hard way, like what did I do wrong, and kind of like getting into the gel of the workforce, I guess. So I think these are perfect opportunities to help develop students, but also get yourself into the workforce in a, you know, a connected way versus just trying to do that. It's like making a cold phone call. Like when you join the workforce, you don't know what you're signing up for, but through the apprenticeship, you get that network too, which can make all the difference. All right, how did your program begin? I think, Seth, this one was directed at West Delaware.
Well, it was 3 years ago, I believe. Governor Reynolds had come to Henderson Products and was kind of highlighting some of the students that we have had that have come through the welding program and were working out at the company at the time. And she mentioned, she had mentioned this apprenticeship program, and Pella was the name that came up. And right away I said, I want to get in. How do I get in? And she said, well, we're in the initial stages right now. When we get that laid out and kind of figured out, we'll be willing to call you. So I'm not very patient sometimes. So I emailed them a couple times just to see how things were going. And sure enough, we got a call that spring saying we're ready. So, you know, it's been such a great opportunity for all of our students. And I'm so appreciative of the opportunity for us to be a part of this apprenticeship program.
So more on the technical side for you, Seth, did West Delaware have to apply for a grant or anything? Or how did that, like, could you just start it as a school, or did you have to apply for any funds?
No, we were able to start it as a school. The good thing was a lot of my my classes were already concurrent enrollment through Northeast Iowa Community College. So the technical side of things were hit to the standards that the state was looking for. And we made a call to Greer Sisson, and she said, hey, let's do it. And that was, you know, about it. We had a great team that started off with all three of the industries: Northeast Iowa Community College, Economic Development, Delaware County Economic Development, as well as the staff here at West Delaware, myself and administration. And you know, for any school, I guess, that's looking at doing this, probably the most important thing that I learned is especially in the initial stages, have a solid team. We had such a great team. Greer explained everything just perfectly. She did a great job with them, and that's just kind of how it goes. I still have, you know, that team. We still meet. We haven't for a while with this COVID, but we still would meet before and go through every application, and it was just, it's a great program that we have going that way.
Awesome. Terry, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, a lot of what was just said is similar for us. I mean, we had some real cheerleaders, if you will, that helped us along. And Seth mentioned those names. Governor Reynolds was amazing. Greer Sisson with the Department of Labor was amazing. But I would say too that the employers quickly got on board, and as soon as they understood what it was, they said, yeah, we want to be a part of that. And they were the ones that often really launched us into being able to really get it started and getting it going, because the whole program wouldn't be possible unless these apprentices have a place to go learn these competencies from an employment workforce atmosphere. So they had a huge role, but it took a lot of people who were willing to give it a try and give the nod.
Awesome. All right, our next question is, will apprentices be at a disadvantage if they do not choose a more traditional college path?
That's where I just wanted to make mention, this piggybacks on what we were saying earlier, that making the point that the apprenticeship is a form of education. So want people to understand that this is an educational program, just like college is an educational program, a 2-year degree or four-year degree. Either way, these are all within the same field, if you will, in terms of being able to advance young people into careers. And one thing that we've done, worked really hard at and are working to develop as we go on, is to provide what we call on and off ramps, so that if a young person is successful in an area for a time, great. And if they want to stay in that role forever, great. But if at some point they're also looking for opportunities to advance or explore again, or just look at reentry into a different field, that we have other avenues for them to choose from. So what we're excited about is they're earning this 2-year degree while they're working, if they choose to do that. But then we also want to give them pathways into 4-year degrees, or looking at a completely different career field within their, if it's within their employer's ability to present them those options. That's what we want to give to them. So I also work with Central College in our area, because they are just as supportive as the high schools and the employers, and really helping these people find the right place to land. And like so many of us, what's the right place to land one day could look very different 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road. So wanting to provide the access for these young people to really find where they have a passion and where they want to spend a lot of time. To work 40 to 45 to 50 hours a week, you want to be able to show them an opportunity they enjoy. And so that's what we're working really hard at, is making an apprenticeship an educational opportunity to the right end goal.
Yeah, and I think Terry said that one very well. One of the things that, I feel like with even more so of an advantage is that they now have the work experience. And I think that's very important. They realize what it takes for any job, because they have been in a full-time position essentially. So when I look at I think you used a traditional college path, sometimes, I think Landon said it earlier, that the consequences aren't always as big when you're getting up for school in the morning, and college is a little bit different, but the consequences here with these apprentices can be pretty big in terms of potentially, let go. So I think it's a great opportunity for them to learn, what the world is going to be like whether high school is over, college is over, apprenticeship is over. So.
Agreed. And really that experience factor is something that you can't override by any means, because you will always have that on your resume, and you will always be at the advantage because of that. So it's an excellent experience to have in your back pocket. Okay, how much work is it to get companies to be part of the process?
Well, Terry, if you don't mind, I'll jump in here on this one to start. I'll go back to the part of the team, and having a good, companies that want to have that support. I think that's really important. Currently, we're setting up an autos apprenticeship. We've had an autos apprenticeship going right now as well, and trying to find a place for those individuals. Some people are still a little bit hesitant. So it is a little bit more discussion with the companies or the businesses to try to get them to accept. I think when they start seeing the success though, and I try real hard to, kind of, I don't know what the word is. I like to get a little bit of recognition for these individuals. So we call the papers, we call the news sources and stuff like that when we're having signing days, or we're having graduations. And I think when the companies and the businesses start seeing that, and the companies are, that gives them a little bit of publicity as well.
I love that you brought that up because we also organize Decision Day. So, at a state level, I've been advocating for that from the beginning, to always get your workshop folks and your workforce folks involved, your military folks involved. Every pathway should be recognized at the end of the school year. So I appreciate that. Terry, did you have anything to follow up with?
Just one comment that it's the apprentices themselves that make that work a lot easier. When we have stellar people like the 3 individuals that are on this call with us today that are great ambassadors and can show the benefit that they bring to the workforce. You know, we talk about doing show and tell, but it's a lot more showing than telling. When they see and can talk to young people like this group, then it's not such a difficult sell, because these people that are in these apprenticeships are just typically stellar young people, and they prove themselves.
Awesome. All right. I have one more question for our students on the call, and then we will wrap it up here. But what is your favorite thing about your apprenticeship? And any of you can answer.
My favorite thing about the apprenticeship would be the relationships I've made, whether it's at work or furthering the relationship with Seth. Everybody I've met's just been great all the way, and I'm really thankful for that.
That's awesome to hear, because it's really, oh, I interrupted. I'm sorry,
No, you're
Levi.
fine. I'd probably say that my favorite part of my apprenticeship is definitely, you know, being able to, you know, see my parts go from, you know, onto the cart, from fabrication to into basically the welding stage to final assembly, and to see my parts, you know, go out the door and to the customer, and that they're going to, you know, use the parts and they're gonna, you know, work for them, is what I'd say is my favorite part.
I feel like that's a really good feeling of accomplishment. Like, you know that the work that you produced is being used.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
I couldn't say that every day about my job, but I hope for the same thing. All right, Landon.
I'm going to have to go with my favorite part about my job is that on a day-to-day basis, I get to go in and do something that I actually enjoy doing, and it's all hands-on work, and I'm getting to see a career path that I think I'm really liking and I want to go towards.
Awesome. And it sounds like you guys are being exposed to all types of pathways too, so you can probably see where you're starting now and what the possibilities are for your future. So you can definitely grow and expand within your fields too.
I'm surprised none of them said the money that they get to make, though, too. That's a little bit surprising, but I bet they were all thinking it.
When I think of apprenticeships, this is my feeling. Just dollar bills. Probably more than $1. I feel like those fields make more money than many other fields of work. So definitely appreciate what you're making too, because I think many of us are looking for that. So you're in good hands there.